of one of the blessings of this experience is learning to sit in uncertainty. And the sureness of our connection to God and the Savior is really what will be that eye of the storm and will keep us being able to just navigate whatever things come. It will give us our sea legs, spiritual sea legs, so that whatever happens, we can still have that ballast. We can still have the things that we need to be able to just roll with the punches, to know when to stand fast, to know when to be more flexible. As we do that, I think we can feel that confidence in whatever's going to transpire from here. We don't know. Nobody knows. And I think that's intentional. I really think there's a purpose in all of this uncertainty, that we get to a place that there is no other option than trying to find something true and sure. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because that's the place we all want to be. We all want to do that, but we have carpool and we want to binge watch something and we're tired. So we don't really seek after with that desperate feeling. Do you remember President Nelson said, when we seek after him, like the woman with the issue of blood who was reaching and seeking after him with everything she had, when we reach out to him like that, that's when we will see miracles. And it's hard to gather that yourself. It's hard to just make yourself kind of feel that way. There's compelled and then being not compelled, right? And just being able to be humble and do it. And it's so much harder to be humble and just do that. But that's what he wants us to do. And so if it gives us a little bit of a boost to have uncertainty that makes us seek after him, then there's a total gift in that. And I know some people are kind of like, stop being so Pollyanna. Like you're always trying to find the positive in things. And I'm like, booyah, because this is a gift. It's a gift for us. And I have made incredible changes for myself and my family over the last several months that were unexpected. And in the moment, they may not have always felt the best, but they were good. Like I could feel the goodness of it, even with the hardness of it. And I am so grateful for this experience so far. So would be super happy if it wrapped up. Don't get me wrong, but I'm so grateful for this. So I think they made a little church news thing, if I remember correctly, that came through about the different promises that were made. That just, do you feel that from President Nelson? It is just so full of positive. It's constant. If you want the good stuff, here's what you do. This is what you do. It's not, if you do these things, maybe God will grant you some good stuff. It's not that. It's the reverse. It's, you want this, the outcome. Remember, he's always talking about the end from the beginning. You want this outcome, then do these things. It's planting a garden. This is what you do. It's painting your house. This is what you do. If you want a good result, we go to YouTube to figure out how to do this stuff, right? I don't know how to put in my dishwasher. I just had to put in. So you go to YouTube to find out how to do it, right? But do we do God, YouTube? Do we go to him and say, okay, I'm open. I'm humble. I'm meek. I'll do those things because they're small and simple things. It's the serpent on the staff. We're like, yeah, okay, but I'm kind of tired to really read today. So, but I mean, I'm preaching the choir because you guys are amazing. But I know that feeling. So I love this. This was so good. Isn't that the beauty of General Conference? Have you had that experience? You're listening to a talk and it's not even really about that, but then you get this download about something else. Do you remember in this book, she was talking about, she was thinking about marriage. And so she went back and listened. She was listening at the time to this talk about marriage, and it went down through everything she needed to know. And she said later on, she found these tapes that she was listening to. She's like, oh, I want to listen to that again. And she said, none of the talks were on marriage, none of them, but they still answered her questions about marriage. It's crazy awesome how that happens. I'm like, why would you miss conference? This is like a miracle in the making, like in the middle of the Red Sea, like the coolest thing ever. And mine is a lot like that. It's what does he want me to focus on now? I like to kind of project and like have these things, but focus on now, like the next right thing. What's the next step? Just the next step. I don't need to see 52 feet into the future, though I'd really like to, but what's the next thing so I can put my energy and focus it on that. And I think it's such a beautiful time to have that kind of question because we really don't know what's coming. And I think that's a huge, huge learning piece, is really, truly holding onto his hand. It reminds me of the talk from Sister Corden about the flashlight. Remember, she was waving it all over. She had the light, but it wasn't focused in front where they were walking and where they needed to go. And I think that's been a big piece for me is, where do you want me to focus my flashlight? What is it that I need to really drill down on? I got to tell you, I feel this so strongly across the board. I just had another conversation this morning. Gal called me that's also from that circle, and just a private conversation. And she said, you know what I'm sensing from women? There is this feeling of, I'm done trying to do it in a masculine way, in a hustle way, we've got to keep slogging through kind of a way. And I want to do it in a grace and flow. And I want to do it with combining with the divine, really partnering with the divine and being at peace and being able to see things and do things, but not feel this hustle, this hurry, this panic, this dread, this fear. I want to feel back to center. And I said, you're absolutely right. And how are we going to get and keep that? By knowing our purpose and our identity, period. Once we get back to that, then we know that what we're doing is the right thing. Even if we don't know all the ticky-tack details, we know we're on the right path. So even if we're kind of going curvy on the path, that's okay. We stop, we have a flat tire, it's okay, we're on the path. If we stop for a longer break than we thought, it's okay, we're still on the path. We just need to know that we're on that path, and it's okay as long as we have that understanding, that clarity. So I think that is a huge thing. Right? So you have to say, oh, what is that purpose for me right now? And it's difficult when you're not creating a baby or have a tag as a missionary or whatever it might be. It's more difficult when you're making those life transitions where they're not as clearly defined. But we know, and I so invite you to go and reread that BYU devotional from Ava Weitzman. We did a quote from it last week. It's a future only God could see. It's fantastic. But she talks about that very thing, about getting that purpose and identity and knowing what that is for you, because it's different for you than your neighbor. I know that I am to be talking to Latter-day Saint women specifically, especially about their purpose and identity now, because the time is shortening. In fact, did you see that who is it? It was the former Young Men's president. I believe he did a YouTube interview about when he was called as Young Men's president. Anybody see that? It's not there anymore. It's gone. But he was talking about President Nelson was telling him, he said, the coming of the Savior is imminent. Imminent. Now, okay. In the scheme of things, we know that sometimes God's timeline is, the Lord's timeline could be 250 years. We know that. We got it. But when a prophet is saying to a newly called leader that the time of the Lord's coming is imminent, I think it's time we need to really fulfill that Spencer W. Kimball thing of, we need the women that will come into the church in the latter days will be because of women who are articulate and who show that love and that purpose and that identity, and they manifest that by who they are, but they being distinct and different in happy ways. I really feel that. And I'm talking to so many women who are feeling this call, like this, I need to be doing like this, Sister Nelson. Am I doing everything I should be doing with my life? Yeah, I'm taking care of kids. I'm doing carpool. We're going to flag football. But am I doing the thing that he's asking me to do? She gave a quote, and it's on my phone, but she was talking about President Nelson. In some of his talks, he had said some things about the second coming. She said, he's not playing to the crowd with these kinds of comments. She said, what I'm getting from him is, do not spend time, money, energy, effort on anything that doesn't have to do with preparing you and your family for the second coming, period. And that means gathering Israel. That means we are seeking out and gathering the elect. And how are we going to do that? As women of purpose, as women of identity, as people will look at and see us and feel a difference and go, what is it that she has? What is she talking about? And whatever genre, whatever sphere we're in, just talk to a gal, she does photography. She is making a difference in photography. One of my friends, I think I mentioned this before, she's a speaker and she's talking to engineers. Did I tell you about that? Engineers. And so she's talking to him, about communication principles. She's like, where's my big stage experience, right? Globally, I'm talking to engineers about talking to their wives about principles. And I'm like, because you're perfect for it. That's your purpose and you're fulfilling it. Going into conference, really letting go of limiting beliefs. And we see this with President Nelson. He has reopened the church policies, the way we do things, and looked at them on a chair and said, why? Why do we have them? Do we still need them? And can we do something else with them? Does God want us? Just like Nephi, he was given revelation from time to time about how to build that ship. So President Nelson has gone in and said, hey, what about all these pieces? And some we've kept and some we've changed. And I think that's a great template, a blueprint for how we can approach the next 6 months of our lives, is being able to open up, let go of those prior expectations and limiting beliefs. The time is hastening. The work is hastening. The time is near. So what does God need us to do to level up and be players in this last bit, this 11th hour? And I feel that to my toes. So I'm excited, ladies. What we are going to hear in conference will so depend on where our hearts are and how open we are to hearing what he wants us to hear and know. I love that point. And don't we get done with conference, we've got a whole notebook of things. I've got my little do page. So when I hear something, I write it on my do page. So it's all on one page at the end of the conference, so I can go back to it quickly. And I've had to learn to just go back and take out 3 or 4 nuggets, period. The top things, and that's say, okay, over the next month or 2, I'm going to just start incorporating some of these things. And some of them end up going by the wayside. And some of them, if I start one thing, it takes care of 2 or 3 other things, because it all shifts like a Rubik's Cube. It shifts and then shifts with it. So I think that's a beautiful, beautiful thing.